and that's where they called me in. So that was 4 different law enforcement agencies involved in that. And this was pretty cutting edge stuff. I had never done anything like this before. I sat there with all these people, with the widow, and we had this psychic. She gave me a description, and I was sketching it, and of these 2 individuals, and then we faxed it to her, and then she said, okay, this looks good, but I'm not getting the feeling right on the nose, and so I'm working on it meantime, and then we'd fax it back. So this was really interesting. Any questions on police work? Yes?
Do you just do the sketches freehand, or do you use the computer system?
Good question. Very good question. It's the first images that you saw of the bike path rapist on television. There were 2 different ones, remember? Those were not drawings. Those were either composites or computer-generated images. This is an actual hand drawing here. That's what I do. I believe in sitting down one-on-one with the witness or victim and creating a hand drawing, because when you're a victim, when you're part of a traumatic experience like that, and you're looking at this assailant, you take this whole thing on as one image, one face. You don't compartmentalize it. You don't say, well, I'm just looking at the lips now, or I'm just looking, you see the whole thing. When the composites or the computer-generated approach is used, they're flashing so many different noses and eyes. It gets to the point where the individual might just say, yeah, that's it. Now what I'll do, I'll usually sit across from the individual, and I'm very conscious, like this would be pretty perfect with nothing behind me. I always look behind me and make sure there's nothing disturbing hanging on the wall. I think it's very important to create the right setting. I think there's a lot to take into account with this, and I'm learning more and more as I go along how to approach this better so that it's helpful to everyone involved. This was the sketch that I came up with after interviewing a rape victim, and 9 hours after this sketch was circulated to the police cruisers, they caught the individual. One of the officers saw this guy, I believe at the train station or bus station. I was fortunate enough to get a good description and be able to go from that. Now the 11-year-old that I had mentioned, I interviewed her at the emergency room at ECMC, and she gave me a description that wound up looking like an alien. I mean, it was really, bizarre. And the eyes were huge, but you know what? Who knows what this poor girl really saw? The experience might have been such where this is how she envisioned this person, and maybe it isn't even how he looked. I have gone into the courtroom at times and trying to think, this one case that comes to mind was the James Cobb case. The Malvasi couple, they assisted him, I guess, when he fled the country, and I guess they were from Long Island, and they allowed him to stay with him and all that. Anyway, the stations hired me to go in. I brought my stuff in, found what I thought was a great vantage point, laid everything out. I'm ready to go now, right? All of a sudden, they bring them in, their backs are to me, they're at the opposite side. The whole time they're in front of the judge, which was all of probably 5 minutes, they've got their back to me. Now, what I did when I first got in there was create the scene of the courtroom. From where I was sitting, I set up the judge's bench, the chandelier, the flag, suggested a couple paintings that were hanging on the wall and benches, So I had that part done already. That's what I try to do when I get in there, you know, if I've got the time. But I had no faces. I had the backs of them the whole time. And they wanted this for the 12 o'clock news. We got out of there, it was about 11 o'clock. It was just after 11. We had to drive over to the station, pull up their faces on the TV, whatever they had, they freeze framed it. I had to create the images of them standing before the judge instead of looking at the backs of them, because the people, you viewers, want to see their faces, you know. So that was a case right there where, you know, we had to hurry up and do that, and I gave it to them. They had it for 12 o'clock. I like to capture the mood in the courtroom. The television viewers aren't in the room. They don't see what I see. I titled the Lackawanna 6 exhibit, Disassociation, a moment in Buffalo's history. At times, I actually have to disassociate myself. I find certain cases disturbing on a personal level. I could portray individuals with horns on their heads, and this is what you, the public, will see. I'm aware of the fact that the image presented may influence viewers. I have to leave my own feelings out of it. These are some of the tools that I use in the courtroom. Now, I do use bigger pads at times, as you could see with these papers here. And I always work with toned paper. I never work on white paper. I've found that it really adds to the mood to work with different shades. I do use the binoculars every now and then in the courtroom, just so I could get a better fix on the face. My police sketches, I gotta say, it's all about helping the police and helping the community. It's just my way of, you know, being able to help out and get criminals off the street. But the courtroom drawings, that's great. You know, they don't come around that often, high-profile cases where, you know, cameras aren't allowed in the courtroom. And when they do and they call me, I'm real grateful to get those jobs. They're good to have. I don't normally let the witness or the victim see the drawing until I'm done with it. So this is a little different. You'll be able to see it as I'm going along. The reason for that is, you know, I like to come up with what I think is a good drawing based on that person's description and then share it with them, and then we go through it. So this is going to be a little bit different. You're going to be in on it, and it'll be more interactive. All of you were probably at some type of event, and maybe you witnessed, you know, somebody just come and drop off $1 million and say, here, you know, and then they took off. And the police naturally want to know what this individual looked like. And you want to keep the $1 million, split it up, but you're going to do the right thing and tell me what he looked like, right? So you guys pick someone out, and that's it. You'll have to excuse my back from this point on. You got this millionaire that's thrown away all this money? Okay. Male or female?
Female.
All right. Now, you want to give me an age range? Let's get past that right away. Yeah, we'll get past that one.